Now, Sports Talk with Brodes. Here's Hunter Brody.
Hey everyone, before we start the show, if you are new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. Also, smash the thumbs up button too. And lastly, every Wednesday, I do a Hump Day giveaway on my Twitter account, @Brodes81. This week, we're giving away a Devontae Smith Eagles jersey. You do not want to miss it. Make sure you are entered. It's so easy. You retweet the pinned tweet at the top of my profile, follow me @Brodes81, and follow my @BrodesMedia Twitter account as well. The entire tweet explains what you need to do, so make sure you're involved. Other than that, enjoy the show. What is going on, everyone? Welcome on into Sports Talk with Brodes. The 76ers get a crucial win. They're inching their way closer to the number one seed. The Brooklyn Nets continue to fall. That's the most important thing. Was it pretty? Absolutely not. Honestly, that was a horrendous brand of basketball. They got outworked and outcompeted by a squad that did not have Zion Williamson, that did not have Steven Adams, and I would have loved to seen Joel Embiid get a secondary shot at Steven Adams to somewhat make up for the last time we saw them go on a one-on-one battle, but unfortunately we were robbed of that situation playing out. You also did not have Brandon Ingram on the floor. So, going into the game, here we go again. Another team without having their top players going up against your best, and you figured it would be a team that just had a bunch of slop on the floor. And quite frankly, they did, but they worked hard, and there was dribble penetration involved that screwed up everything. A lot of offensive rebounds for the Pelicans, 16 to be exact. The Sixers had a bunch of turnovers, so they played sloppy. The bench was horrendous. Here's your bench. -10 for Mike Scott. -12 for Dwight Howard, who had 3 turnovers and was probably one of the worst versions of himself that we have seen. -11, -15 for Shake Milton, who also had 3 turnovers and was an embarrassment. -11. That was your bench play while all your starters were in the plus. At the end of the game, it came down to the wire. The Pelicans had no clue what to do. They were turning the ball over. Did the refs have a bad whistle and then eventually make it a jump ball at center court? Yeah, I mean, that wasn't out of bounds. They saved it. It was an inadvertent whistle. They went to the jump ball, whatever. Regardless, you saw a team that was clueless and lost offensively in the Pelicans with 2 possessions late that really screwed it for them, while the Sixers, intact, get Tobias Harris wide open in the corner for a 3, and that was very large. And you just had some timely shots made by your starters once you put them back into the game because your bench can't hang. This all-bench lineup, Doc, isn't going to work. And I heard him after the game. He was asked about the bench, and he said, I learned a long time ago, if I get worried or if I stress out about one game and one moment here and there, well, that's a bad job by me. And my counter to that is, Doc, and I'm paraphrasing just a little bit, but that was essentially his message. Doc, it's not one game. It's not just one game. Your all-bench lineups have sucked majority of the time. Your all-bench lineups have been a problem, and it has costed you many games, and it's costed you more games than it has benefited you. So, Doc, we're not basing this off of just tonight, where your team got annihilated with your bench in there and your starters. To be fair, that third quarter was absolutely atrocious. They got outscored 37-18. And what bothers me the most about that third quarter specifically is the way that they ended the first half. It was very solid. Now, the Pelicans did squeeze out an 11-0 run right before the Sixers bursted at the end of the first half. But that explosion in the way that they scored and Ben Simmons defensively and scoring buckets in transition, that was all fantastic. So I thought right then and there, all right, here we go, Sixers. Let's go into the halftime. Let's go back to the locker room. You're in a good position. Just keep your foot on the gas pedal, and you'll be okay. And before you know it, you allow 38 points to this team, and you're seeing fast break points, steals occur, turnovers happening. And come on, easy buckets, easy dunks, easy layups. What are we doing here? Why are we getting outworked on the glass the way that you are? Well, dribble penetration, the guards were getting beat out by the perimeter, which then forced the big men to have to slide over with help defense. And then after that, it's somewhat of a spiral out of control where the Pelicans had second chance opportunities, got rebounds off the glass, and were able to score in those areas. What's crazy to me, though, is I watched Joel Embiid score 20-plus in the first quarter, and he was dynamic, was he not? He was scoring at will, getting to the charity stripe, knocking down all of his free throws. We've seen him do that a million times. He scored 2 points in the fourth quarter, and those came with free throws with a minute and change to go. In what universe is Joel Embiid in a close game in crunch time only scoring one bucket? Or no, not even one bucket. It was not one bucket. It was 2 free throws. It was one pair, if you will. It was 2 points. 2 points in the fourth quarter. And with a minute and change to go. In what universe can that happen? It can happen. He had 35 entering the fourth. He ended with 37. I just thought that was so bizarre. Now, the zone for the Pelicans, it definitely screwed up the 76ers. And I'll date back to the Brett Brown era, where all I heard was Brett Brown is so stupid that he can't have his team figure out his zone. That's not the case at all. Miami Heat used to throw the zone around and fool all these teams, but then it's Eric Spoelstra is such an amazing coach. It's not about the other side and these other teams and other squads just failing to figure out certain plays off the zone. It's not that hard to figure out here. Doc Rivers is also struggling against the zone. Is it really Doc Rivers? Is it the players getting the feel of it? Is it the players hitting open shots? Is it the lack of Ben Simmons' offensive game? Can we put that into the equation, please? Because when they do go to the zone and then they do throw some action over Joel Embiid's way and someone's wide open and that someone happens to be Ben Simmons, but he doesn't look to ever score the basketball, that is an issue. That is a problem. That occurred, and that occurred against a team that had garbage on the other side. What happens when that said team does not have garbage on the other side? And let's be optimistic here if you want to, huh? Ben Simmons loves the aggressiveness when he goes up against better talent. When he sees LeBron James, his eyeballs light up. When he sees lethal talent, he feels the need to put his foot on the gas pedal more. So maybe he just didn't feel like doing it tonight because it was just the Pelicans. But the last game against the Houston Rockets, he didn't have that mentality because he decided to take a bunch of jump shots and a bunch of fadeaway J's and start yapping at whoever's causing trouble with him in the stands. So please, let me know how this all correlates, all right? That was terrible at times with Ben. When Joel is getting this double team and the zone is causing problems, Ben, you're going to have to do a little bit of something, all right? You're going to have to actually, wait for it, look at the rim. As a basketball player, you're going to actually have to look at the rim and think, I need to score the bucket. It's so frustrating. It really is. But, yeah, the zone causes teams problems because it's the NBA and you don't see zones very often because most of the time you go man-to-man. So when you do see a zone, it throws your team into a little bit of a funk and it throws your team in this weird spot. And then from there, you got to feel it out and figure it out. Sometimes the zone allows wide-open threes, and the wide-open threes are there and they're taken, and maybe you just miss those shots, but it doesn't mean you do a poor job at countering the zone. It just so happens that you weren't making those shots. Now, I'm just more talking hypothetically and more in a broad term, not so much just specifically tonight. All I'm saying is you saw Doc Rivers and the team struggle against the zone tonight. You saw Brett Brown's team struggle against the zone before, and Brett Brown was the dumbest coach in America. Eric Spoelstra uses the zone, and it works against all these teams last season in the bubble when they went on their magical ride, but no one ever really faulted the opposing coach and said that he was the stupidest, dumbest, brain-dead coach in the world. It just doesn't add up, all right? The logic behind it just doesn't add up whatsoever. What is crazy about Seth Curry is my man continues to be lethal. My man continues to be red hot. He shot 50% from three again today. I'm at the point where, Seth, make sure you save a little bit for the postseason, please. We know your spurts go hot, 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 and somewhat lukewarm and a little bit of cold. Right now, he is streaking hot, and hopefully this is somewhat carried into the postseason, and it doesn't end at the regular season. They go to Detroit to play the Pistons tomorrow. this is what is a little bonkers to me is you saw them look this way in game one. I could only imagine what they were going to look like or what they are going to look like in game two in a second half of a back-to-back if this is the effort that they gave tonight. Joel Embiid was questionable before the game, so is there a correlation between that and the status that we are going to see as the hours progress, as the day moves forward for anything tomorrow? I guess I wouldn't be insanely surprised if maybe Joel Embiid sits this one out, but at the same time, they want to figure out that number one seed, lock it up, and then they can push forward with whatever the hell they want to do after that. It's pretty damn clear, though, Doc, that your whole theory of the 11-man rotation is just a bad one. I'm going to have 11 guys. No, Doc, you're not going to have 11 guys. You might. Your playoff success won't be very large, though. So when are we going to realize that this is just not going to work out? And Shake Milton might not work out either, right? There's no way in hell that you should think that Shake Milton is a lock to play consistent minutes. And I don't like exactly what I see from the George Hill, Shake Milton situation. I know that George Hill, it takes time to adjust. Not only is he coming to a new team, but he's also coming back from an injury that had to deal with some time to kind of reboot yourself and rebuild yourself and get yourself back on track. He did all that, but the Shake Milton and trying to force him into a role, I think there's a force, and I've given him credit because there was this role somewhat molded out for him over the last handful of games or so, but I think tonight he went right back into where he was prior to the handful of games that actually excited me. So let's see if it continues to go negative or if he pulls his head out of his ass and he thrives and becomes what we've seen over the last handful of games, but I think the track record speaks for itself. This year specifically, I'm not talking about his entire career. I'm not talking about 2 or 3 years from now and what he possibly can be. I'm talking about right now for this year. I think we've seen it. I think we understand. I think there is enough of a sample size here to see what Shake Milton is going to be, and that's not a consistent enough player for this team to rely on in some playoff minutes. And, you kind of see maybe the same with Dwight Howard, though, which is a concern. You've seen great moments out of Dwight Howard, but you've seen plenty of moments like tonight. And I just feel like it's inexcusable when you see what's on the other side. How, as a professional, as a player that has been at the top of the mountain, as a player that's been a very vocal leader, as a guy who has been a ton of sparks throughout this entire season, in what universe against Hayes and against these Herman Gomez and whatnot? Like, how are we doing this against these fools out there? There's no way you should be playing that heartless, that gutless, just bad brand of basketball, which I was so stunned, seriously, watching the way that third quarter played out and even moments in that fourth. Once you put the actual starters back in, you figured it was going to turn around, and it did. You had good ball movement, and that Tobias Harris corner three, I think that was the one that really was the difference maker for them for sure, to be able to solidify that big shot by Toby. Look, he's been a player who, and I'm not going to tell you he had a phenomenal game to that point because, quite frankly, I did not think that was the case. But Tobias, how many times this season have we pointed at Tobias Harris and said, fourth quarter, end of the game? If Joel Embiid's not having it in that game, if it's not his smoothest fourth quarter of his play, like we've seen Joel have elite, insane stuff like we did early in the game, how could you stop him? I honestly felt bad for the Pelicans at times early because he was facing up, he was getting fouled easily, he was, there were a couple blocks, although I don't think his defense as a whole was anything overwhelming or fantastic or anything to really speak highly of, to be honest with you. But, just thinking about earlier in the game, though, with some jab steps and getting open in the mid-range game and knocking down that mid-range game. And I thought Allah said it perfectly. When you're thinking of picking up, you got to pick and choose how you're going to defend Joel Embiid. Well, Joel Embiid was lights out with the mid-range game, but that's what you should be choosing. That's your highest percentage. If you're the Pelicans, your highest percentage to be the most effective. But guess what? The player on the other side is dominating, and the player on the other side is dialed in and drilling his shot. So if you want to play the percentage game, sure, Joel, keep taking those shots. The issue is my man is on fire, and he's going to make you pay. So when do you switch things up? When do you try something new? When do you, just throw everything you got at him and put your hands up if that doesn't work either? And they elected to go to the zone, which definitely changed some things and whatnot. But, it's crazy. But if Joel Embiid isn't your guy and isn't your purest form, can Tobias Harris step up? And here's your positive with Toby. As I alluded to, not his best performance. Even when it hasn't been Toby's amazing game, and even if he is not efficient and he's missing some shots and he's just not in the rhythm, guess what? Fourth quarter, needs a shot, wide open look, drills it. You can put that all behind you. You know what? Maybe it wasn't my night. It was when it was the fourth quarter with just a minute to go, though. And what matters the most? When it's the fourth quarter with just a minute to go, damn it. So good for Tobias Harris for stepping in there, along with, as I alluded to, Seth Curry earlier. And, Danny Green had some moments in there and whatnot. And he just brings the professionalism. But we kind of know at this point, right? There is one thing with the bench that was a little confusing, but Doc cleared it up after the game. And that was the fact of he did not put in Tyrese Maxey, and he stayed with Mike Scott. And I was praising Doc Rivers the other day because he finally only put Mike Scott in when there was garbage time, when it was the game that didn't matter in the game, when it was a huge blowout, where it was inevitable that the 76ers were going to walk off the court with the victory. Now, all of a sudden, Mike Scott is playing crucial minutes again. Mike Scott is not a player. Mike Scott, it's over, all right? The whole experience with Mike Scott, it's not working. It's not something that benefits your team. Well, he didn't like the size for Tyrese Maxey. Well, guess what? I didn't like the play of Mike Scott, and nobody should be enjoying the play of Mike Scott, as he was -10 and the whole entire bench was minus. So please tell me what you see in Mike Scott that you can't give Tyrese Maxey some run. Was that the 100% difference? I don't know. Maybe the size would have destroyed Tyrese Maxey, and you would have saw poor play. I'm not ruling out that Tyrese Maxey could maybe have a bad outing and a bad stretch off the bench. Of course he can. He's a young rookie who's learning. But I'll take my chance, and I'll give him at least the opportunity to prove me wrong than what I saw out there with Mike Scott. It's just trash whenever he is on the basketball floor, and I think that is so obvious at that point that it should not be discussed anymore. I'll tell you something that bothers me, though. And if you're a Ben Simmons stan, God bless you, because it's about Ben Simmons and what upsets me the most. It's something Doc said. It's something that Zumhoff and Allah bring up as well, and it's something that a lot of people mention also. All right, so here's Doc Rivers on Ben Simmons and the narrative of him. The narrative of him not shooting from the outside. Just because Ben doesn't shoot threes doesn't mean he doesn't create them. He leads the league in threes created. Fine. I'm not discrediting the fact that he gets his teammates open looks. He was doing this under Brett Brown when there was a roster filled with players who didn't shoot. He was leading the league in assists from three. That's how special he is in that area. This is another quote. Before the three-point line was very popular, there was a guy named Magic Johnson. Yo, Doc. Yo, Doc. The three-point line is important. Before the three-point line was really popular, there was a guy named Magic Johnson. Doc, the three-point line is popular. That's an asinine statement. Well, it's a different game. It's not the same game, Doc. You just mentioned it. Prior. Yeah, when Steph Curry wasn't shooting threes. When Damian Lillard wasn't elite from three, when Klay Thompson wasn't on the court, when Kevin Durant wasn't available, when James Harden wasn't damn elite from three, when all these players weren't on the court and you had a different style of play, you can get away with that more, Doc, but it's not the same now. The three-point line is popular. So when you have a point guard that doesn't have the ability to do anything outside of 2 feet, you are in trouble, Doc. You're in trouble. So how I'm going to tie this together with what the broadcast mentions is this. Because, they always go, well, everyone always overlooks what Ben does do. Look at his assist numbers. Look at his rebounds. Look at how he helps his teammates get up. We know that. We know that. We're not overlooking that. Why are you overlooking the flaw? Why are you overlooking what he doesn't do? Why are you overlooking the fact that Joel Embiid's getting double-teamed and my man isn't even looking at the basket to score whatsoever? Why aren't you looking at that? Don't come after me and say that I don't recognize what he does. I fucking do. I do fucking recognize what he does. But why is everybody else somehow just not recognize how an NBA player is not shooting a basketball basketball and act like that doesn't matter. It's actually unreal. And I will sit in this very chair every day. And I have. I mean, if you are a listener of the show, you know that this is something that I constantly say at this point, and every single day I come down here and I talk about this damn basketball team, and he comes to mind, and my frustration pours out because it's ridiculous that I feel disrespected that there are others out there. And I love Zoo. You know that. I love Zoo. I've had him on the show before. We're pretty close. I know him very well. I love Zoo. I'm not taking shots at Zoo. I love Zoo. I'm just talking about in general, the Ben Simmons stands out there where you tell me that I don't recognize what he does do and I'm only harping on one thing. Well, first off, I'm harping on the fact that my man doesn't shoot a basketball, all right? I'm not harping on the fact that my man lacks like a minor area in the game. Like, he's very good in all these things, but maybe his passing could be just a little bit sharper. Or, maybe he's just not the best in general on help defense. Like, he needs to learn a little bit more about the help defense. And I'm just saying more broad, not so much Ben, because we know he's so great at defense. But my point is, like, the one thing that we're not happy with, I hate to break it to you, but it's a pretty damn important thing. All right? I mean, it's serious now. It's serious. It's stop with the bullshit. Stop with the bullshitting. Stop with the nonsense here. Please. I'll tell you where there's no nonsense, and that's Desimone Jewelers. They are the best in the jewelry business. I guarantee you that. And I go there all the time, and I'll never go to another jewelry store in my entire life. They are located in Haddonfield, New Jersey. They moved from Jewelers Row to Haddonfield, New Jersey, a family-owned business with over 40-plus years of experience. I went there for my fiance's engagement ring. I went there for Christmas. I went there for her birthday. And guess what? I'm doing it again. I'm doing it again. I will go to Desimone Jewelers for the rest of my life. They manufacture every ring they make from start to finish on location, and because of that, they're able to beat competitors' prices. They treat you like family. You're not a customer. They treat you like family. They educate you. It's an amazing experience. They teach you everything about the diamonds, about the jewelry that you're purchasing, and they go in depth with it. And it really does put it in perspective of the item that you're buying, what you are purchasing, and the value in it, and the way that they teach you and sit you down. It's a really phenomenal experience. I've sent family members there. I've sent friends there, and I get the same reaction every single time. Brodes, you are a genius. Thank you so much for finding this place and telling me about this place. You're welcome. And you'll be saying the same exact thing. I'm telling you. I'm guaranteeing it. Desimone Jewelers, Haddonfield, New Jersey. Check out their information. It is all down below in the description. All right, you know what time it is. It's time to take your phone calls, so let's start it off. Here we go.
I don't want to see Mike Scott on the court again for the entire regular season, and he damn well better not be on the court in the playoffs. He probably won't, but Doc Rivers has to learn the all-bench lineups don't work. Here's the hoping that he doesn't use them in the playoffs. We've seen him mix it up a bit, but we gotta just not see it. It just doesn't work. And it feels like, for a while now, the starters have just kind of been going through the motions, and the intensity just hasn't been there. And, that's fine. Just hope that they can turn on the switch in the playoffs.
Oh, no doubt. I think you're right when you say it does seem like they're going through the motions, but they're also blowing out teams. I think it's hard, just like for us as fans, when we get all excited because we know the Sixers are on, and then you realize, well, damn, there's every player on their starting rotation, and they're only going to have 8 or 9 guys available. It kills the mood. It kills the mojo, and I give them credit. They're winning these basketball games, and they have their eyes set on a goal. What's their goal? Let's get to that number 1 seed. So they are applying that logic, and they are doing it. So they're going through the motions. Tonight was probably the ugliest version we've seen in a little bit of time, but they're winning by 30+. They're winning by 20+. They're handling their business the way that they need to. So you're right. They do seem like they're just going through the motions, but that's natural. I think that's normal right now, and I think it's hard for them. It's not easy. They are human beings. They feel the same way we do. We want to play the Milwaukee Bucks in the Eastern Conference Finals. We want to see the Brooklyn Nets. We want to see maybe the New York Knicks in the second round. We're ready for that. They're ready for that as well. I think they're kind of over this. They know what's super close to their reach. As soon as they finally get it, there'll probably be an exhale like, whew, all right, We got our first goal done. Second goal is win the first round of playoffs. Third goal is win the second round. The list goes on and on and on. I don't necessarily blame them, I guess my point is, for going through the motions because it's understandable, because I know how I feel. And even as a player, they feel the same way. They can't just not. I mean, they're human beings. They feel the same way we do. A game against the Pelicans without Zion, without Adams, without Ingram. And I would have loved to seen them with them. Not that I think this Pelicans team is good, because they're not. But Zion exploded and embarrassed you the last time that you guys played one another. How were you going to counter that, and how would you somewhat, come up with some sort of statement like, yo, I know what you did last game, but that's not going to happen again. And same with Joel Embiid versus Steven Adams. He's a bigger guy. He's a professional. He's definitely not afraid of Joel Embiid. He has the physicality to kind of counter a bit. Doesn't have the skill set, but he has the work ethic and the build to give Joel Embiid some tough stretches for sure. I would have loved to see Joel kind of have to counter that and see how he would handle that, just based off of the last time these two teams competed. He did not end up on the positive side. Joel Embiid didn't. I thought Steven Adams kind of flustered him and made him a bit aggravated and got into his head a little bit. And then from there, Joel Embiid didn't have the type of Joel Embiid night that we were accustomed to seeing. But there are some good things out of Joel as of, even though like the second half wasn't not the whole thing, the fourth quarter in general, I guess. But just in terms of like passing, I guess is what I'm trying to bring up. Somehow I was trying to transition from that to passing. You see his passes out of the double team, and there are some beautiful ones for damn sure. Ones that we have never seen before out of Joel Embiid, so I can't wait to see how that translates. When it comes to Doc Rivers and the all-bench lineup, I've said this before and I'll say it again. I'd have to give Doc Rivers the benefit of the doubt. All right? I have to give him the benefit of the doubt, saying he's too smart to try this when it matters most. Hopefully I'm not proven wrong. I heard Paul George specifically call out Doc Rivers after last year, and when they were up 3-1, he just thought that it was going to work. They were going to win a game. They just did the same thing over and over and over again because they figured their talent would override the Denver Nuggets when they were up 3-1, and they would not lose that series. They just did the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, and nothing changed because they just figured that at least in those next 4 games that they would win one of them just because they were the better team, and that was not necessarily the case. So is that mentality something that can backfire on Doc Rivers with this team? And maybe it's something with the bench where he goes, I've done this all year long. I won 50-plus games, and well, normally, I don't even know how many wins they're actually at. I'm thinking more of an 82-game season. What is their actual win total? These games, whether it's the NHL with 56-game season or they're at 46 wins, okay, because they're only playing 72 games. But, all right, we won, let's say they win 48 games, or I don't remember how many games they even have left, quite frankly. But regardless, I've won X amount of regular season games, and I went to my all-bench lineup. So because it worked then, I'm going to do it now. And based off of what he said tonight as well, where I'm not going to use this one game to kind of define what I do, that's how you get into trouble. Well, all right, we'll see. But I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt because of his track record. But there's been some bumps and bruises along the way with this track record. It has not been all dandelions and ponies and unicorns and roses. So that's for real. That's no joke.
UGLY. Wow, that was painful to watch in the second half. I'm not really too concerned about the win or loss, but I have a bone to pick with my man, Ben Simmons. Once again, when the game gets close, gets tight, half-court sets, or now apparently a zone defense, he goes MIA. Dribble the ball down, pass it off, try underneath the baseline, sit on the block. You gotta be kidding me. He is too talented to just do nothing in the second half. For the Sixers to really win the championship, which they have a great chance this year, he has got to get his act together and live up to his potential and scoring like 28 and 8. If they can do that, I think they have a really great shot to go all the way. Your thoughts?
You're not wrong. If he can do that, yes. Is he going to do that? No. No. Why would he automatically average that? There's no reason why. This is nothing new. Nothing new at all. You just brought it up. Well, when the half-court sets in the zone and this and that, he does nothing. Yes, he does nothing. That's what he is at this point. That's Ben Simmons. It's the same old Ben Simmons. So, unless he wants to, this is the thing. I'm not saying he can't, because he can. I know he can. That's why I get this bothered. That's why I lose sleep over him, because I know that he can. So it's in there. Can he do it? Sure thing. Will he do it consistently? Now the answer is no. He might do it once. He might do it 2 times in a 7-game series. Will he do it consistently enough for you to rely on that? Absolutely not. You will get this version of Ben Simmons more than you get that 28-8 version, more than you get that 22-point Ben Simmons. That's just reality of the situation. And I'll throw this out there because I think it is going to happen, because I've been so damn hard on Ben. He's probably going to have some good playoff moments in the first round and possibly even in the second round when he go up against the New York Knicks team that is not filled with absolute stars like you would see if you were to see the Brooklyn Nets in the second round, or if you would see the Milwaukee Bucks. I'm not going to say absolute insane stars on that team, but a very well-structured playoff team. You would see, you possibly see more explosion in the first round and the second round because of who they match up against, where you might hear see, Brodes, you were wrong about Ben. Well, let me see it against a team in the Eastern Conference Finals. Let me see it against a team that, really does matter to me. Whoever they see in the first round, that doesn't really matter to me. I expect that out of Ben. And quite frankly, I expect it out of Ben even when it's the better teams. But, if you're going to get all up in my face about it and flex about Ben on me, well, I need to, legitimately see it. And I just don't think you're going to, unfortunately. I don't think you're going to when we need him to the most. You might see it in the rounds where you're playing against a team that the Sixers are going to absolutely annihilate anyway, but that's a different circumstance to me. It's not the same.
Well, that got interesting. Sixers played down to their opponent tonight. I expected them to come out on their home floor and make a statement, but they didn't do it. And for Doc Rivers to leave that bench in that whole time during that third quarter and the beginning of the fourth, shame on him. But I guess it's a W, so.
Yeah, it is a W. And that's kind of my reaction afterwards. What a terrible game was sort of my response, and I tweeted that out afterwards. But you get the win. And at the end of the day, you get the win. I wonder how much of this was with the back-to-back. Maybe they were trying their best to somewhat rest Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, as much as possible. So now that I think about that, I don't know the minutes played. So I'm going to look up the minutes played for the big man, for Ben Simmons specifically. I get an update available on my Windows. Yeah, you shut your mouth. I swear to God, lately I've been getting so many damn updates and notifications and the anytime hotline calls when I'm actually recording, and it makes the sound during the show, and I hate that. All right, if you go to the box score tonight, Joel Embiid played 33 minutes, Ben 34 minutes. Maybe they didn't want to try and throw them out there for 37, 36, knowing that they were playing tomorrow, so that's why they went with that philosophy. I don't know. Here's something great, though. Joel Embiid, 12 of 12 from the charity stripe. That's always fun to see, for sure. He did have 2 blocks. He also did have 3 turnovers. Danny Green was plus 18. He was the best of the plus-minus department. But I'll tell you what, Shake Milton, minus 15. Matisse Thybulle, minus 11. I hate nights where he plays 14 minutes and takes 1 shot. I hate that. I hate when I see Matisse Thybulle taking, 0 shots. It's like, dude, fire him up, man. You're going to need that as much as possible in your career. But anyway, that's what you got out of the 76ers tonight. Does that tickle your fancy? Probably not. But they won the basketball game. All right, before we head out of here, the hits literally keep on coming. From one boxing event to the next, they grow in excitement and anticipation. And this weekend, there's no difference with the 2 of the sport's most respected fighters stepping into the ring Saturday night. There is no better place to get in on all of the action than with DraftKings, America's top-rated sportsbook app. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code Brodes when you sign up. For a limited time, all new users can bet $1 to win $55 on this weekend's main event. That's right, DraftKings Sportsbook is going all out for new users by offering them the chance to win $55 when placing a bet of $1 on this weekend's big fight. Only at DraftKings. Must be 21 or older. Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. In partnership with Meadows Racetrack and Casino. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Thank you all so much for listening, and I will see you next time.